in their handbags. But
absolutely, yeah.
It's there, it's live and well. And you've seen in wrestling crowds, dads taking their kids or their wives and girlfriends. You get a mixture of ages, races, sexes, the whole shebang, just watching what is essentially a very easy concept, good versus evil.
Exactly. I mean, you look at WrestleMania, which draws, 70,000 whatever to an arena, and really you were sitting there to watch two men perform in a wrestling ring. There's no stunt man, there's no second takes. I know it's the old wrestling cliches, but people tune in, millions of people tune in to see that. So the good and evil, that story is a timeless thing, and I'm sure, if it's told well, people are always going to enjoy it. You look at any movie, any television program, everything, there's a good guy, there's a bad guy, there's a conflict of interest somewhere, and that's what wrestling is. You've heard it a million times, it's a male soap opera,
But it's true.
And, like I've said earlier, I believe there's something for everybody,
I genuinely couldn't agree more. I think the trick is, in this country, is separating the wheat from the chaff. There's so many good promotions like we spoke about, and there's many more to what we said as well, but there's also the ones that could put people off for life. That you go to a...
That's the thing. I mean, like I was saying, the problem is, you were talking about the casual fan, like the family and the children and stuff like that. The problem is, a lot of the time, and it's no disrespect to any other promotion, but they're not going to know SWE from NGW to whatever set of initials. They just look at wrestling on the poster, and if they've had a bad experience at a wrestling show, maybe it wasn't up to par, then unfortunately they might think that the next show, if they do see, say, an NGW poster, which is a fantastic show, unfortunately they may not give it that second chance because they assume that the wrestling they saw the first time is the wrestling they're going to see again, and that's not the case. I'm sure you know, and I'm sure your listeners know. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of different wrestlers just in the UK scene alone.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's all sorts of talent. I'm not going to bury anybody or anything like that.
No.
But there's all sorts of people. And there's all sorts of promotions all over the place,
So what would your advice be then? If you're... because we've got some listeners who are casual wrestling fans or closet wrestling fans that may not have been to a British show. And obviously, I'd like to think they take my word for it, but I'm only one person. What would your advice be to someone who wanted to see a show but wanted to make sure they saw something good?
Well, I mean, because we've all got the internet now, which is a great tool. I mean, for me, when I first started getting into wrestling, I first started training, I did go and see... I mean, I went to see a lot of shows and I tried to pay attention to as much as I could. I mean, I guess it's just trying to find the reputable workers. You can, if you're a wrestling fan, you can gauge pretty well on a setup or the look of the guys, or maybe using YouTube, searching a few names and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of top workers. I mean, there's so many guys out there, El Ligero, Paul Malin, Manson, Kirby. I won't mention Chris Travis.
I'm surprised he's not been back in touch, actually.
Nah, I'm sure he's crying right now. No, but, there's so many guys, and you just look for those names, and, if you look hard enough, you'll find them. The internet's a great tool. I'm sure you'll promote some top shows and stuff. There's plenty of places to find them. And hopefully, if you do, unfortunately, see a bad show or one that you did not enjoy, then, just remember that they're not all like that, and give it a second chance. Or if you have been to a show that you didn't enjoy and you've been put off by maybe British wrestling or independent wrestling in the last couple of years, then, it's worth trying. Because, the good thing about independent wrestling is that it is an affordable price.
Yeah, very much so.
And, you are closer to the action than you would be at a WWE show or a TNA show. So, it's a good place to start. I mean, you see a lot of guys who could be the future stars of tomorrow, so...
I would also say as well, try different promotions. I mean, a lot of guys travel around, so obviously you've done it, said on your Facebook page, 40 promotions and counting over the years.
Yeah.
Try promotions and see guys like yourself who turn up at different ones. Look at posters, see who turns up where, and try and gauge what's good and what's not good, see what you like. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, a lot of the guys, everyone travels up and down the country, so there's, a lot of the top guys will be travelling to whatever area you're in. So there's a good chance you'll get to see some of the top guys wherever you are. You know, it's just, I do know what it's like, because I mean, before I got into British wrestling, I assumed there was just one promotion.
Yeah.
And then when I got into it, I was like, wow, you know, there's a show here, there's a show there, you know, there's shows going on all over the place. So, you know, it's not hard to find once you get into that world, you know. So
another thing I'm going to mention is British wrestling on TV. We've mentioned how it's getting better and the green shoots are showing. Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where there's a regular mainstream TV channel, a TV program?
I think that, you know, there's a good chance of something like that happening, purely because, I mean, I don't actually have Sky and stuff like that, but you know, there's so many channels, there's so many, you know, hours of TV to fill up, and really, you know, wrestling at a decent level isn't a huge cost to produce. So I think it's just a case of, you know, everything getting aligned and hopefully, you know, everything being in the right place, you know, the right promotion with the right roster, the right guys, the right people in charge. I think that's a definite possibility, you know. I don't know. I think it would take some time to maybe get onto, like, you know, if we're talking about the terrestrial channels. Yeah. But I can't see it being a major hill to climb. I mean, obviously, I'm not involved in that process, so I'm sure there's guys who have tried or are in the process of trying. But I'm sure there must be a decent channel out there with a decent, you know, where you could build up a good core audience. It has happened in the past. You know, it could definitely happen in the future. It's just, like I said, it's just having the right team of people on board to do so, and having the patience as well, because, you know, sometimes in wrestling you have to be prepared to lose a bit of money to make a bit in the future. Yeah. And maybe, you know, I can understand why people may not be prepared to do that, but unfortunately that is the wrestling business, you know. So I think there could be a chance. It's just having the right team.
You hit on a few things that I agree with there massively. Wrestling is so easy to put on TV, which is why it was put on TV back in the 50s and 60s, because it's cheap to do. Once the setup's there, everyone knows that's the history of wrestling on TV, and the Gorgeous George years, even as far back as that. And the way we watch TV now is completely different to the way we used to. We've got the internet to watch things. It's not set aside a certain time anymore. You can watch it as and when you want.
Yeah.
And we've got I think the answer is free TV. I mean, I mentioned on the show, on Saturday I'm going to do a TV tape-in for the UK Wrestling Experience up in Wakefield, where I'm going to be their Jeremy Borash ring announcer type.
Right.
I wonder, would this country and would the fans, in your opinion, buy into something like that?
I mean, like I say, you know, with the right presentation, with the right people involved, with the right roster, you know, with not, you know, being able to bring, you know, having an engaging program which will have people, you know, not just tuning in for a glance, but to come back. You know, that's the thing. Maybe there is a show or there is something, and maybe someone will tune into it once, but it's having something that people want to come back for.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like you say, there is YouTube, there is so much wrestling on TV, you know, just in America, you know, just from what America gives us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's definitely a loyal British wrestling fan base anyway, who, you know, have a lot of respect for a lot of the top British workers and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you know, word of mouth is a powerful thing. The internet is a powerful thing. You know, if there is the right program, the right people, who, you know, I think it's a definite possibility. I think people would buy into it. It's just, like I said, it's just having that right product.
I've just had the guys from WrestleHeads mention it to me. So we think we need to get some pro wrestling on Freeview. We will get there. Stick together. Keep promoting, because if we demand, we will get it. That's a great attitude to have.
You've got to stay positive.
Just keep pushing it. Right, Joseph, we're coming up to the end of the interview. I have a standard question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
Who is your favourite wrestler and why?
Chris Travis.
Okay, and why?
No, right. Oh, we haven't got long enough. That is a tough question. I've been asked that a few times.
It's a good one, isn't it?
I think the thing is as well, you know, when you first started watching wrestling to then getting in the business, you look at it differently to how you did when you first were watching it.
Yeah.
I think the argument for who the two best are is always, you know, it's like Shawn and Bret is usually this sort of argument. I mean, Shawn Michaels wasn't necessarily my favourite person, but I think he's like, in terms of the best, I think he is the best, that can tell a story and things like that. But from a personal favourite, I was always a big Bret Hart fan, so I'll go for Bret Hart on this one.
Very, very popular answer, actually. I think it's tied with Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan.
Oh, right, okay.
But you'll find the people that answer Hulk Hogan, other than me, are the people that don't know wrestling. Like country music singers and people like that say Hulk Hogan. Whereas all the pro wrestlers will go for a Bret Hart or a Benoit or someone like that.
But there's so many guys. I mean, there's so many guys you could mention. Obviously, I mean, I could spout names off for ages. But I guess that's the sort of one of the easy answer, Bret Hart.
And that's the point of the question, to be honest with you. Right, okay then, Joseph, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us here. I'm going to put a link to your Facebook stuff on the Harbour FM Facebook page. If anyone wants to follow you up, see what you're doing, any upcoming shows, go and watch some British wrestling, they can do that by finding you on Facebook. I'll do that as we come out of the news, so that'll be on after 11 o'clock. I'm going to be at the Southside show in St Neots, so hopefully we'll bump into each other.
Okay.
I think Ben's invited me backstage to get a few interviews for the show, so hopefully we'll have a little handshake and discuss what's going on. So, Joseph Connors, thank you very much. And we're going to play the Bare Naked Ladies for you as well.
Oh, good.
LJ Heron, even yourself actually tweeted me about how much you love these.
You got to love the Bare Naked
Did you see what LJ Heron put on my Twitter about you and buying this for, was it the Lips game on Xbox or something like that?
Oh, the karaoke game. I had to force him to buy it. One too many tequilas that night, I think it was. But
in honour of that moment, we're going to play It's All Been Done. For special edition, Joseph Connors, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
No problem.
Take you home. You were wrong. Harbour is your one-stop shop for servicing, spares and repairs. And now you can get up to £100 cash back on all new Honda mowers. Visit our showroom at Sutton Court, Bath Street, or call Harbour 463 932.
Essential news and information for South Leicestershire and North Northamptonshire.
Loving life in Harborough.
This is HFM
Man and woman are being questioned about an attack on a 93-year-old last month. Emma Winnell still recovering in hospital in Birmingham. David Cameron is promising to do whatever it takes to keep Britain safe from the Eurozone crisis. The Prime Minister's held a conference call with other